Well, welcome everyone to this afternoon's webinar. This is Susan McGuire, Director of Professional Development at ACCE. We're so happy to have you with us today for this webinar led by Kevin Capell, Vice President for Investor Development and Relations at the Greenville Chamber. Kevin is going to discuss the mindset, tips, and innovative strategies to engage and retain members even through difficult economic times such as we're facing today. So before we get started, I just have a few housekeeping reminders. First, all attendees are in listen-only mode during the webinar to avoid background noise. Second, after the presentation, we'll have time for questions. And to ask those questions, simply click the question box on the webinar panel on the right-hand side of your screen. Type in your question and send them to me. And at the end of the presentation, I will ask Kevin the questions that have been sent in. Don't hesitate to type in your questions during the presentation as they come to you. We'll take questions afterwards, but as questions come, please type them in. We'll get to as many questions as we can. If we don't get to your question, please feel free to contact Kevin directly. He will have his contact information on the last slide of his presentation. And you can also, of course, always feel free to contact us at ACCE. Third, the webinar presentation, the slides are uploaded to the webinar panel on the right-hand side of your screen under handouts. So just click to download. I will also post those slides tomorrow with the webinar recording. And then finally, the webinar is being recorded. I will post it tomorrow on our ACCE webinar page, and they will be there with the slides. So at this point, I will go ahead and introduce our speaker. Kevin Capell is the Vice President for Investor Development and Engagement at the Greenville Chamber. A South Carolina native, Kevin's 30-year business background has led to success in delivering results in increased sales growth, client retention, building strong team, and ROI to support the mission and vision of national organizations such as Belk, Inc. and Target. As the Vice President of Investor Development Engagement at the Greenville Chamber, Kevin's role in developing, leading, and executing the membership investment and investor engagement program strategies while working closely with current investors, prospective investors, chamber staff, and volunteers. Through these actions, he delivers an experience that drives investor and revenue growth for the Greenville Chamber. At the Greenville Chamber and in previous chamber positions, he's been fortunate to work with some of the best in the chamber world, and he's currently in his third year at the U.S. Chamber Institute of Organization Management. So thank you so much, Kevin, for presenting today, and I will let you take it from here.
Susan, thank you so much. I'm so honored to have the opportunity to present today. And again, let me take this moment to welcome everyone, and then again to say thank you for taking some of the time out of your day. I want to also take a moment to recognize my team and say thank you to the team as they have helped me in developing this presentation for today. Could not do this without them, and what we do at the chamber without them. So certainly say thank you to them. Hopefully they are they're on today and attending as well. Again, the focus today is again looking at retention and the role and what we're dealing with both pre-COVID and now, as well as looking ahead. And so if you'll indulge me during this time as I go through this, hopefully I will share something that will enlighten and yet review a little bit of those things that are currently working, both for us and I know are working for other chambers. As a 140-year-old chamber, with over 1,800 investors strong, the Greenville Chamber is the oldest and most influential business organization in upstate South Carolina. Our chamber currently consists of 20 staff members. In my department, I do have 4, one investor development manager, is responsible for, again, as it says, developing new investors, along with 2 engagement managers that deal with retention, and also 1 business growth manager whose focus is on our events, as well as our programs such as Coffees and Connections, or networking program such as Link, ribbon cuttings, etc. So again, thank you to that team and all the effort and the work that they do. We are recognized as a U.S. Chamber of Commerce 4-star accredited chamber. We are certainly looking forward to our reaccreditation this year, and hopefully to receive our 5-star. So we will look forward to that. Our chamber, along with many others throughout the country, work on a vision and a mission statement. And these lay the groundwork for sharing the value in becoming a chamber investor, understanding what we're doing. And so, you know, our vision is a globally competitive upstate economy where businesses succeed and people prosper. And we do this through our mission of leading and convening and mobilizing the business community to drive regional economic growth. We accomplish that mission by focusing on 5 areas. Now, these are actually our strategic priorities, and I want to share these with you because this is where our current plans, as well as what we are looking to do moving forward next year into the next 3 to 5 years, will be developed from, and this plays a role in our retention. So our first is as we advocate for policies that promote business growth and oppose policies that stifle the growth. The next, and I've highlighted this because this is our topic that I want to does a little bit more on, is connect our businesses and clients and programs and resources that help their businesses to grow, develop our region's generation of business leaders and community stakeholders. We also work to advance our region by working with area partners to attract, develop, and retain talent, and expand our entrepreneurial ecosystem. And we include all stakeholders in initiatives that allow all citizens opportunities to share in the upstate economic prosperity. And again, let me go back to the connect. And it's been identified as a strategic priority in which the development and engagement area of the chamber can impact the greatest. It does play a role for our 2021 and beyond. And I would like to build upon that in talking about what we're doing moving out of the current environment that we're in and dealing with the pandemic and our goals going forward. Take a moment at this time and kind of share with you our retention circle of life. And it's something that we discuss quite often, engagement managers as well as our IDMs. And I want to walk through this because one of our premise of this is that by creating relationships, even in the onboarding, prospecting stage, prospecting, onboarding, and so forth, we're developing that relationship, which is going to equal a trust, which in turn will equal the renewal and continued support of the chamber. So as we walk through, you know, again, the first is the onboarding, and our focus is at that key time of onboarding, we're working towards ingraining that new investor into the chamber, plugging them in, and showing them the tools that are available to take advantage of their investment. And also, we begin that early stages of looking ahead for the renewal. As we move ahead, we are continuing to engage that investor, and I'll speak a little more on that as we delve into the latter part of the presentation and kind of get the sense of where that engagement comes in. And during that time, we are continuously working to strengthen that relationship, and it's through the touch bases, the engagement, the ability for that investor to participate where they feel it's mission-centric for them. Then we move into that stage of looking, as we we move into the upgrade and renewal process of the circle of life, so to speak, where we're moving into, they've been with the chamber for 6 months. They're in their renewal time frame where they're 6 months in before their next renewal. And so we're looking to take feedback we've been given, ideas, ways they'd like to be engaged, and how can we take them to the next level? How can we work to build upon and include them in sponsorships or programs? And then from then we move into the next aspect of engaging and continuing with the outreach and conversations, strengthening, and then kind of back to, you say, well, why we're going back to onboarding? Well, during this time period, and so prevalent now, there's a lot of folks that are no longer with the companies initially when they joined or during the course of. So we have new contacts that we now need to onboard. Maybe they've been engaged previously in the chamber, but then we need to kind of revisit again and start that process to find out how they want to be engaged, opportunities that we have to be engaged. So circles back around. So, the question of this is, how do we go about addressing investor retention at the start of the pandemic? This was something that the first part of the year for us, January and March were phenomenal months. January and February were really great months. March started off pretty strong, and then everything started to change for us. So, how do we do that? Well, the term of definitely pivot and adjust became prevalent for us as well as many others. And so really what we did is, as many of you have done, we implemented several ideas, learned from a number of ACCE or CACCE, which is our Carolina association, through the webinars, wonderful tools that were available and provided for. And then we leveraged relationships with our peers throughout the country to learn more about what they were doing. And that stemmed from our staff and those that they were connected to within the various programs that they lead, and even through our CEO and opportunities there for us to get a sense of developing what we're implementing. And so you will see as we move into the next several slides, you'll see some of the things that look familiar. And in the chamber world, we do kind of to complement, and is that many times we definitely will duplicate what is working for other chambers or build upon. So some examples that you'll see as many, if not all, chambers that I had an opportunity to speak with and learn from during the course of the webinars is we completed, we are in this together outreach to all 1,800 plus member investors. And we did this through our staff being assigned our investors based on the areas in which they've been engaged in. So our advocacy VP would reach out to his advocacy committees, his investors, and those that participate in that, and touch base with them. Our economic development, workforce, talent, reached out to them. Our board members, our CEO, our senior VP of operations would reach out to our board of advisors, and then our other staff and our team, the team I have fortunate to be able to lead, would reach out to our other investors in our book of business, and really to take that opportunity to check on and to find out, as you all did, where can we assist? Where can we provide that assistance at the time? We developed an employer resource guide, and we went back and renamed that as we kind of moved into middle part of the year and moving in a recovery guide. And it wasn't only for our investors, it was also for those who were visiting the Chamber's website to look to find out what information could they gather at this time. So that was if it was providing information on filing for unemployment, applying for PPP or a lotto loan, the CDC best practices to keep your staff safe, as well as their businesses, was all provided. And we had a landing page on our website that we provided that link. We sent that out through email and provided that in our phone conversations. We also conducted, in partnership with our local city and county governments, as well as our area development corporation, we sent out a business impact survey to find out from our businesses the pressure points. And there's a small display here that we were able to boil that down during this time period of 4 areas. It dealt with their cash, it dealt with bringing customers in, the confidence that they needed to be able to run their business during this time, and the ability to communicate to those within their communities, their customers, their investors. Also, our senior VP, Liz Horton, developed not only for us a return to the office as we moved into that stage where we started to gradually come back into the office, putting together a responsible return to the office plan, and was able to share that with our business community as well as others within the chamber world and peers within. We also were able to develop and implement an engagement toolkit, which empowered our engagement managers to meet the needs during this renewal period. And you say, so what is that? And I certainly would be glad to share that. Please reach out to me, and I can email you a copy of that. But as with others, it was derived from what we've learned from our peers and from other ACCE and webinars. But we deferred a payment. We were flexible with payment options, quarterly payments, monthly payments. Incentivized because it was so important. Our businesses wanted to reach out to and let others know, hey, this is what we're doing. We're open. We're here. Curbside service, online ordering. We offered free ads within our weekly newsletter, as well as a website, ads on our website. The ability for our investors to access a landing page on our website that was specific to sharing investor news. So in the past, it's been you can share news within our investor portal, and that goes out to our investors. This allowed those whether they were investors or whether they were non-investors, to give them a platform to share their news, and then we work with them in other ways. We even took it so far as developing and taking the engagement manager toolkit. We developed an investor development manager's toolkit and provided that IDM tools to continue to develop new investors, which we have been able to do so over the past 4 months, or as we came out of really April into May, June, July, and August and September, were exceeding our projections for that. And so that empowered our IDM to be able to develop new investors. We worked with a collaborative effort or collaborative partnership with our city and county, as well as other investors alike, as many did throughout the country, other chambers to, for us, we worked to provide 30,000 masks through our Mask Up program, as well as working with our Business Recovery Task Force, which the Chamber was a part of in our community, to launch the Greater Greenville Pledge. And that allowed businesses a platform to be able to share that they were open, what they were offering as incentives. Also a way to be able to say, as the businesses started to open and restaurants and salons and others were able to allow customers back in, but based on social distancing, the communication piece to share the confidence to them that, we are sanitizing, we do provide masks, we do ask for masks to be worn. We have online opportunity to order. So again, many of these examples are what others we have heard from in the chamber world and other businesses that were doing manufacturing and such to help to instill confidence, to bring back customers, and for us as a chamber to continue our operations on a daily basis and provide value to our business community. So you may ask, well, what's changed in our strategy from pre-COVID to now? And my answer is, we learned that we can make, and I use the term tweaks to our plan to attain our goals. And our mindset right now is why stop now? We continue to evaluate where we're at, where our goals are going to be now, next month, and into 2021. And that's where our strategic priorities play a role. We just recently updated those for the next 5 years. And so that plays a role as we're moving forward, and I'll share a little bit more about that. So going back to that strategic priority, our retention strategies moving forward are based on just that, and that connect priority. So there's 4 areas in that connect that we are wanting to share with you today, that I'm wanting to share with you today, as well as to help our investor development managers, our engagement managers, and our staff as we are looking to continue to move into 2021. One is we're going to, and I'll briefly go over these 4 and then we'll delve a little bit more specifically, is looking at expand our access to our value add programs. Value add programs are part of our non-dues revenue and add value to our tier levels, investment tier levels. Increase engagement through chamber resources that we offer. Are investors taking advantage of the resources provided, programs, benefits that we offer? Optimize in-person and digital connection opportunities. So one of the things that we've learned, and I think everyone on this presentation today, is that we learned that we do a lot of networking events, in-person events, but we also can be successful in utilizing our digital platforms now and realizing that we can blend in-person and virtual as a hybrid and moving into next year and moving forward. So how do we take that and build upon that and utilize that even in our retention? Provide thought leadership around different business challenges. So we realize that there are opportunities that presented themselves in 2020 that will continue on into 2021 and beyond, and how do we address those, and how do we make that as part of the value of the chamber? 1, to invest, and 2, to continue the retention. So as we move into expand our access to value add programs, we're going to offer that and have the ability for our investors and even prospect investors to offer that or utilize those. And of course, offering is, put that there for an RFP where they can present to our investors, what they have and an ability to engage them. Develop additional programs that we do not currently or had not currently had in play, and one definitely being our mobile COVID-19 testing. We have an investor that has the ability to go in and test at a location, whether it's a manufacturer or a larger organization, or whether it's a smaller business. And they do that by offering an investor pricing, convenience, and the ability to have some rapid testing results. Currently developing pre-employment drug screenings program as well for chamber investors. There's an incentive there to utilize that, just as we currently offer a HR program to help those small businesses that are in need of the HR, the payroll, hiring, So that we feel that complements that, as well as the employment background checks. So those are three that we're going to add in for next year moving forward, as well as what we currently have. And those are on our website. Certainly would encourage you to take that opportunity to check our website out and see that. Many are similar to what others are utilizing, but maybe some aha moment for some. Expanding the programs can also mean direct marketing email campaign, to be able to increase that. It means the utilization of our weekly update newsletters. It will mean that those programs are also highlighted in our social media campaigns that we've developed, as well as website impressions. So, you know, that business or that offers that value add program will have recognition and the ability to have that pushed out to investors, even out onto our website where others who would say, ooh, I'm interested in that, I'd like to take advantage of, and then reach out to the chamber to help us. And then those add value to retention. Increase engagement through chamber resources. You know, we have a weekly update newsletter that we send out every Wednesday. And we took that ability to add an ad benefit to our as an additional benefit to our tier structure level. So whereas an investor could purchase that ad, can still do that. Once they reach or at a certain level of investment, they now have that as an additional benefit. Creation of a dedicated landing page on our website for investors to share news regarding their businesses. Spoke about that earlier. We did that initially as part of that offering for COVID. And as we moved into that time frame to allow businesses to share what's going on, we found that we will continue that. And so that is there. Our utilization of our engagement manager's action plan. And I've got an example, as I say, see example, but I'll move to the next slide. You'll see that. And also we'll be glad to email that template out to everyone. And also, we created a 3-stage email drip campaign for our investors. So we were currently utilizing a drip campaign in welcoming and onboarding and providing information to our investors. Through that drip campaign, we realized and saw where there was value to move into the next time frame after that onboarding, even into for an investor who has been with us for a number of years, where we could develop a campaign for engagement during that 3rd month, 6th month, as we move into or get closer to their renewal time frame, and then move into that renewal upgrade time frame with that drip campaign. And so those are automatically generated, and they provide and contain important focused information to allow the investor to maximize their experience, as well as to continue to re-engage, as well as look to how can we move to that next level of investment as well. So this is an example of an engagement action plan. This is just the first 6 months. The engagement manager utilizes this as a tool that starts from January, and this is what they would be doing. Whether it's a first-year investor, this is geared towards our engagement manager that deals with our 1st year, 2nd, and 3rd year, and our onboarding. So I certainly would be happy to send this to you, those that would like that information. But it's very specific and works through each month, so that it's a checklist as to what that engagement manager should be working on and working towards their achieving their goals, their KPIs. So it's been a wonderful tool. I myself have a book of business that I'm responsible for a certain investment level, so I utilize this as well to help me as I'm reaching out to and in the renewal aspect and engagement aspect. We have that ability to as well, that as we're looking, we want to optimize our in-person and digital connection opportunities. So as we've learned during COVID, the beginning of the pandemic, we couldn't have in-person events. How could we still reach out to our investors, even dealing with renewal, development of, and also the programs that we already had planned, and have that that ability to hold virtual events, but now move into in-person events, and a hybrid blend of virtual meetings with in-person, and utilize that. So we just recently had two large events. One was our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Summit, that we utilized the Blue Sky platform. It was a 2-day event. We had a little over 300 average attendees per day for that. And then also just finished up today a 3-day South Carolina Leadership Exchange. It was an inaugural event that we worked collaboratively with our South Carolina Metro Chambers to host this. And that platform was Excel Events. And I think there are a number, probably hopefully that were on the call, that were on this presentation today, that were able to participate in that and get a sense of. And that while that was virtual, we're utilizing and looking ahead into 2021 where we can include some in person as well, and utilize the virtual platforms. And the ease of and the attendance, where some of these in-person events were highly attended, it just expands upon the ability to offer investors opportunity to engage with convenience and ease. We also found out that utilizing the virtual platforms that we do have, that the breakout room experience has been awesome. And one example is our Coffee and Connections, which is our bi-monthly networking early morning event. Well, we have moved from that solid virtual Coffees and Connections. We now are offering and moving into attendance in person, the ability to also be a part of that virtually. But the breakout rooms had that ability that you could take those. If we had 50 in attendance, as many of you know, you also had that ability to break them into small breakout rooms virtually, and they were able to connect and build relationships and share leads, depending on what the program was, whether it was our Coffees and Connections, as I've said in the example, or whether it was what we'll call our links networking groups. And so we were very excited to see this, and we also saw an uptick in attendance. So as we've moved into, we're utilizing both in-person and digital. So recently our networking group that meets either in the mornings, midday, or late afternoon, you could attend in person, and we had those that attended virtually. And so they were all still able to make those connections. And so we're very excited about that. Provide thought leadership around different business challenges is the other aspect that we're looking to build upon our strategic priorities and in dealing with our retention. So this adds, to the value of what the Chamber is doing within our community. And we've been able to do this so far already as we move into 2021, knowing other things that we'll continue to work with. But, currently our CEO, Carlos Phillips, was named to the U.S. Chamber National Initiative to Address Inequality of Opportunity. We also were involved in the creation of our local, of the Greenville Racial Equality and Economic and Mobility Commission, and continue that. That certainly is not over with and continues to move into next year. So that adds value. Our partnership with our Metro Chamber Coalition that was created recently, where we have our upstate, Midlands, and Low Country chambers working together, which initially was generated from our advocacy, but also has developed into our inaugural SC Leadership Exchange, which again, as I mentioned before, we just finished up 3 days of that earlier today. And then also our implementation of our Accelerate 3.0 Growing a Greater Greenville initiative. And the Accelerate Greenville is part of our economic competitiveness, our workforce and talent, our entrepreneurial ecosystem incubator that has allowed our chamber through this to reach out within our community and grow headquarter businesses moving into the area and transformative projects. And one of the initiatives as we move into 2021 and on is the focus on educational attainment and income equity. There's a disparity there. And we've been able to work with the Lumina Foundation and tying in with them and their goals and to achieve that. So that's kind of one of our big pillars in that regard. So that is part of, and so that again adds value to investing in the chamber, adds value to continue to be a part of the chamber and sponsoring programs. And so it's one of the ways, these are 4 of the ways that we continue to share with, and what we've done is we work in our retention and share with our investors on continuing their renewal, continuing that relationship with the chamber. And so we're very excited about the success of these programs and look forward to those that will present themselves. You know, I'm going to take a quote that recently had the opportunity to listen to a podcast that Kyle Sexton was a part of. And one of the aspects in that was a discussion. At the time, it was recorded, I think, in July. And so we're right in the middle of that. And Kyle made a comment which I thought was impactful, stuck with me. You know, the most important thing with any member is not the money. And, you know, during this time, you know, a lot of small businesses struggled. A lot of our large businesses were struggling because of shutdowns. And so we saw where it was the relationship, and had numerous investors say, you know, this isn't transactional. This is a relationship renewal. We're in. We can't pay at this moment. We can pay this amount, or there's not a problem. We can pay now. But it's because of the value of what the chamber is doing. We see that. We want to continue that. We want to continue that. The chamber's ability to be able to do that. And I know many of you had that opportunity and heard that as you reached out to your investors. And so, you know, really that relationship equal to trust, and that trust continued to build upon those that were renewing, those that wanted to renew but just had that roadblock in front of them that they couldn't, and allowing us the ability to be able to assist. And as we move into all those things that we've done as a chamber, and you've done as a chamber, to move into and going forward in the renewal, you know, attention to the relationship. This was something else that was brought up. You know, attention to those relationships will equal that money, will equal that renewal, and continue to see those that are investors or those that are looking to invest in the chamber to develop and retain those. So as we move into, I want to take this opportunity to say, you know, thank you for participating today in the sense of attending and taking the time out of your day. You'll see my email address and my cell phone number. Please feel free to text me or email me. And I look forward to that engagement. And thank you again for being a part of this. And Susan, I'm going to take this moment now to turn it back over to you. If there are questions that we can answer or review, certainly look forward to that. Thank you again.
It's about providing value, demonstrating value, communicating it in the right way to your members, and really nurturing those relationships. So thank you so much for that presentation and those ideas. Folks, if you have questions for Kevin, please don't hesitate to type them into the question box at this time. I'm going to open it up. We do have a few already, so go ahead and type in more if you'd like. First question is, do you use Chamber Master? I'm curious how you auto-generate the emails to members.
Great question. We do not use Chamber Master. We currently are utilizing Atlas, and that does give us the ability to create through our mass communicator to develop a template and set that where the email will go out based on the time frame we put in. We are moving into Acrosoft first of the year, so we're looking. That gives us the ability to be able to expand upon that. But the development of the template and then setting up that time frame certainly is provided if you utilize a WebLink. However, WebLink, which is Atlas now. But for Chamber Master, I do know I had a little familiarity with that, but you do have those abilities to set up a template and set up a recurring drip campaign. So I encourage you to definitely reach out and to Chamber Master.
Okay, Kevin, your audio is going a little bit in and out for me, but I think you said you use WebLink and not Chamber Master. Is that? That's
right. We use WebLink, not Chamber Master, and we'll be moving into Acrosoft in the 2021.
Okay. Kevin, what insights have you gained about your mission-based selling and fine-tuning the best target investors for your chamber?
Yeah, another great question. Some insights we've learned is that, whether it's a larger organization, a manufacturer, because in our area, aerospace, automotive are large industries that we target, but yet our chamber is made up of small investors, small businesses at 50 or less, and so while some look to have some of the benefits that are offered through the value add programs, we also see that others are looking to find what is the larger, bigger picture value in being a part of the chamber. And that's where, for us, even on a developmental piece and or on the retention side, being able to share our strategic priorities, or what I like to call our 5 pillars, helps us to be able to share the why. And so the insight more so has been, because of everything that's been going on, has been a little bit more difficult in the prospecting or having those to invest in the chamber. And of course, as we've seen on the renewal aspect, but being able to take those and plug in and hear from them where they feel like they need to be, and we can take those 5 pillars, those priorities, and then build upon and share the why. So definitely has been more of that mission-based versus, hey, join the chamber and you get a ribbon cutting. Yep. Or the chamber and you get a discount at one of the investors' car washes. Those are still there, but yet it just takes to a larger scale the why.
Yeah, the mission-based selling is so important right now. Absolutely. Another question: how many investors are each membership engagement manager responsible for, and are ambassadors also supporting the plan?
Ooh, good question. Let me answer backwards. Our ambassador program currently, we about 2 years ago restarted the ambassador program, so we're just now building that back up to. So our ambassadors are engaged in attending events, our ribbon cuttings and things of that nature. So we haven't really included them in the aspect of the renewal piece, but definitely we utilize them in ways of testimonials to help in development, and then also in the retention aspect to share, but not directly involved in that. Previous chamber I was at, we did utilize our ambassadors a little more in reaching out to, because it was a smaller chamber, smaller staff, and reaching out to at the time for renewal. And then Susan, lost my train of thought. Going back to, so we're talking about ambassadors, and then we're talking about the number. Okay, it hit me. So the engagement managers, we break it up into one engagement manager is focused on first, second, and third year investors, and then also with priority in, responsibility in onboarding new investors within a certain time frame, and then also leading our Chamber 101 and VIP events that we do quarterly. And then the second engagement manager is focused on years 4 and beyond, up to a certain investment tier level. So, which for us is our business leader level. So Marnie will go to those years up to $1,500 tier investment level, and then I will take over and work that book of business at our $1,500 to our accelerate level. And then at that point, myself and our senior VP for economic competitiveness work as he leads that accelerate program. We work with those investors in the renewal, because those tend to be more of our one ask, higher level engagement at the time. So that's kind of how that's broken out.
Okay, great, thank you.
Great question.
Kevin, with your larger investors that usually are your pillar partners, and we all have them, how have you discussed the value proposition of them staying on at their current tiers? Have you had some whom you want to who want to leave or downgrade, and how do you manage that conversation? This person deals specifically with top tier investors. Top tier investors.
Well, I think, and again, that's another great question. And the way that this year has worked out for us, many of our top tier or our trustee level investors are also engaged in our Accelerate program, and are also part of what we call our One Ask. And so for that One Ask, we include them in where that includes investment. It also includes their engagement in different programs at sponsorship levels and so forth. So every year we revisit those One Asks and have that conversation. As we've moved into our Accelerate 3.0, we're now moving into those conversations. Their initial 3-year commitment to Accelerate has expired. Many already have said, look, we're going to be a part of the next wave of. And so we're having those conversations in that regard now to gain that recommitment. And we do have that tier level, that $1,500 investor up to that $3,000 investor, who we've had those conversations with as part of that follow-up piece, and reaching out to them. And we're hearing that, we're not going to be able to renew at this level. What's the next level? Or as we work with them and hearing back and getting that feedback, what are some ways that we can incentivize the continued renewal at the level that they're at, based on what their need may be. So going back to my slide with the tweezers, we tweaked that a little bit. But it just so happened the way that the year has worked out, it's that time of year of our One Ask revisits, and it's also that time as we work with our Accelerate investors, where they, part of their investment is investment in the membership in the chamber, but the other is going into that transformative project. So I don't know if that helps. It just so happens it kind of all came together at one point. So it was a great opportunity, great time to be able to address those with those larger investors.
Okay, now I know that's challenging. And the
Yes.
person asking the question was specifically referring to industries at the top tier, but who've been hit hard economically. So that's the challenge.
Right. And if I may just add to that, we are currently in, I do have some of our larger investors that because of shutdowns, could not renew in the month of their normal renewal. So we work with them and kind of where can we be? Where do you see yourself? Is it still within your budget? And that comes from, again, the relationship that's been built, because some of those larger investors have been investors for 40 or 50 years. And while they've taken a hit, they've been able to come back. And in the upstate of South Carolina, we're leading the nation in that area of recovery. And we're well ahead of the trend, and we've seen our manufactured, our larger industries get back into business and are able to renew. Maybe not back in February or March or June or July, but now we're starting to see that. So we're very fortunate in that.
So part of your strategy is that first piece where you talked about the flexibility that you give your engagement managers and that you use in making it work during that difficult time, particularly in the earlier part of the year.
Absolutely. I mean, even the largest investor that comes to mind, an employer here in the upstate, shut down for a month, was hit by COVID, and with the shutdown. So they were affected, but because of the relationship that we had with them previous leading into, and was able to see that renewal come about. So one thing I've learned through this whole process, from our smallest investor to our largest investor, is flexibility and patience in some regard. We've been very fortunate in many regards.
Yeah, that's great advice. Continuing on, talking about top tier investors, what are some of the top tier incentives that you've included in your top tier tweaks?
That's another great question. So appreciative of those. The top tier levels, we did not tweak as much as we did our mid-level investment renewals, but it has been more of that small business investor, mid-level, 1,500 level, that we've added some additional, whether it was the weekly ad update, incentivized payment renewal, early renewal, or we've added benefits of the ability to have a banner ad on our website that maybe one tier level didn't offer, but the other tier level did. We said, look, let's make it for both. Or also the ability where a certain tier level, that investor had the ability to be able to get our investor list, a list of investors in the chamber that they were able to utilize for marketing tools, no email addresses, but addresses and so forth, that they were able to use for their prospecting or outreach. That maybe is not available at one level, but is available at the other. So maybe what we did was just brought that down to the level below it this year and going into next year.
Okay, so if folks want to learn more about the incentives that you all have included, they can either check your website or contact you.
Yeah, if they'd like to reach out to me, I'd be more than happy to kind of share our tier benefit sheets to get the sense of what those are, and you kind of see the differences between the two. So certainly be glad to share that.
Okay, great. I think we have time for one last question, and it is, what are some of the metrics you track for retention?
Wonderful questions. So some of the metrics that we track, you know, let me first say this: we all have a budget, and our KPIs, at least for me, and I'm sure for many others, were based on achieving budgets. And so, you know, when the pandemic hit, the budget kind of went out the door. So for us, one of our big focuses has been management of our cash flow, and you know, our renewals plus our new investment have played a role in that, along with our programming and sponsorships and such. So what things I daily look at is we do have a spreadsheet that we have our current by month. We have our investors who have been billed, and I will go in and kind of check them off to see who is paid and in what month they were billed and what month that they paid. It gives me an idea of what we currently still have outstanding as billed, what we currently have had paid for that month, and what my retention is for that month as a revolving. And so I look at that daily. I review that with our engagement managers, and on a biweekly basis, I share with them what comes in daily, and so that they can see, they have an idea. And then at the end of the month, we kind of review both where we were for the current month, retention, base to build, paid to build, where we are at on our 90-day or 60-day or 30-day, and then also looking ahead for our pre-bill. You know, who is paid. If currently we're in November, we're receiving payments for December. And we have a threshold that we'd like to achieve for that. And to be mindful of, you know, there's some delay in that payment, but through that communication piece, each engagement manager and myself are working to reach out and call, text, email, and in some cases we've been able to visit in person. So going back to the metrics is I look at payments received in comparison to what was billed for the month, what's been received for the month, the retention percentage for the month. And then at the end of the month, I also go back to our board report that we present and take a look at where have we gained and grown from the previous month. So have we had the ability that, okay, at the end of October, we were able to pick up X amount of renewal over the past 10 months. And so we look to see where investors are continuously paying and where we've impacted, and where do we need to go back and readdress some of those that we haven't heard from, or those that we gain commitment but we maybe have not seen that renewal payment come in. So I hope that helps. It's just a daily look of what's come in, what's still out there, and what we have upcoming. So I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you very much. So we may have one more question in the queue, but I'm going to be respectful of everyone's time, and I'll forward that to you, Kevin, and you can continue that conversation after this webinar. But in any event, thank you so much for presenting. Really appreciate it. Thank you all for participating and your questions. Really appreciate, Kevin, your generosity in sharing and in sharing your contact information as well. It's great how we all help one another during this time, and it's made all of us better. So
absolutely.
Thanks again, folks. Again, the recording should be up tomorrow, November 13th, along with presentation slides, and check our webinar page for that. Otherwise, have a wonderful afternoon, and we will see you on the next ACC webinar.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, everyone.